At this time of the year, lots of families prepare to take vacation trips. I'm sure some of them are already vacationing here with you. Today's homily does concern a trip or a travel law, but this one took place over 2,000 years ago. It went from Galilee to Jerusalem. So let's look at 3 points today. First, the original journey of Jesus in Luke's gospel. Secondly, the specific incident with the Samaritans. And finally, what lesson we might learn from this gospel reading. Every 3 years, we read from one of the so-called synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. John is saved for the Easter season. So we're currently reading from Luke, and every Sunday you'll hear another section of Luke's gospel all the way up to the first Sunday of Advent. And something happens in this 9th chapter, the section which we read from today, which is important to note. It really gives us a structure for the rest of Luke's gospel. From this point on, Jesus is on a journey, and his destination is Jerusalem. Geographically, this is true, but the journey also has a theological meaning in Luke. During the course of 15 chapters, Luke will present various teachings on what it means to be a disciple, what it means to be a follower. And this initiation into Christianity is like a journey, one step at a time. Today, the journey gets underway, and Jesus decides to take the fastest route, but it goes through Samaritan territory. It's almost when you are driving, say, to Washington and have to decide to get through New York, do you go the George Washington or the Tappan Zee? Having had lots of experience with that, the quickest route, the George Washington, doesn't always work out. But what happens to Jesus is that the Samaritans reject him. And they reject him because of the destination of his journey. They don't respect the holiness of Jerusalem. They don't think one should go to worship there at the temple. So they reject him. And what happens next is maybe the first lesson on the journey. James and John want to call down the fires of heaven to destroy the Samaritans because they have rejected Jesus. And Jesus says, no, let's just move on quietly to another town. And so the lesson comes down that it is an acceptance of even rejection, and that no one is forced to follow the Lord. And toleration of those who reject us is one of the obvious lessons we can learn from today's Liturgy of the Word. The specifics of that is up to each one of us to write. But perhaps we can give a couple of suggestions. Maybe a friend seems to have forgotten you. You've been hurt and unable to take the first step to be reconciled. Or perhaps you have taken the step and it's been rejected. What Luke's gospel encourages us is not to try to retaliate, but to tolerate. And if possible, to extend the hand of forgiveness once again. The challenge might be even greater when we're talking not about friends, but about family. Is the estrangement between brother and sister, or parent and child? If so, it's often accompanied by very strong feelings which make the difficulty even exacerbated. But we need to take action based not on feelings, but also on conviction, beliefs, faith, commitment to the gospel. The challenge for you and me today is to extend the hand of toleration and even the hand of love to those who have hurt or rejected us. In the second reading, Paul says, if we keep fighting with each other, we will end up in mutual destruction. A lesson from 2,000 years ago that you and I need to hear today.